Hi YouTube, Darth here. This is Over Your Shoulder, a series where I follow unsuspecting players and give, usually, unsolicited commentary. But today is different. In today's Over Your Shoulder, I have my very first community member over your shoulder, with albertmarian, or perhaps it's albertmarian. But we'll just call him Al from here on out to avoid any confusion. Enjoy! So Al got a number of good helicopter kills in the last round. Let's see if he can manage to do another one right here. This is a UCAV, a support gadget that was introduced in Battlefield 4's China Rising expansion pack, and it looks like he overshot it there. I'm not a really big fan of the rooftops on this map simply because they leave you in an exposed position. It looks like Al got what he was going to do done and he's jumped down to a little bit more safe position. And this is a nice spot to be to cover your teammates that are at Delta, but at the same time you're not going to be able to help them capture the point directly. Oop, and unfortunately here it looks like an enemy caught him on the way down. There's really not a whole lot you can do on the dismount. Gotta watch that mini-map when you're a gunner, especially in close like this. And again, this is one of those situations where you should use your mini-map for cues, but you should definitely be watching out behind you just in case. As a gunner, I like to watch the rear of a tank simply because you never know when that enemy threat's going to appear with a rocket or a C4 or any number of things. And there's the rocket. Looks like he got out in favor of hunting them down instead. Now Al needs to be careful here because he doesn't know where he is and he's got into his baffles like that. That could have been a knife, that could have been like death right there, but some good hip fire on Al's part, and he manages to come up with a kill. Al's got great control of this MG4. At longer ranges, he's burst firing the weapon, and at close ranges, he's hip firing the weapon. That laser really comes in handy, and the 3.4x scope also helps out at long range. Though I think right there would have been a better opportunity to hip fire rather than aim down sight. Looks like we're doing a kit swap to the assault kit, maybe to get a med pack. Yep, that's exactly what's going on. And then right back to the support kit. Always consider picking up an enemy's kit when you kill them. It can really help you to fill in a situation where you might be lacking in a class's certain utility. For example, Al used it to heal himself with the med kit, but you could also use the defips to res a nearby ally. Other examples include using a support to resupply yourself with ammo, finding an engineer kit to blow up a tank, or using a recon to drop down a beacon or possibly a tugs or a map. Doing a good job of holding down D here. As far as the enemy team, let's see what we got going on here on the tabletop. Looks like they have Bravo and Alpha, and the red team is in strong position on this map. Clearly saw an enemy duck behind cover there. I think this is where I would throw a grenade and just try to come up with a kill or flush him out. A little bit too late on that toss. So right here, it probably would have been a better idea to sit there behind the train, use the cover, and then try to take out the enemies as they came out from their cover. That looks like we have a few down here. There's one. We'll use a hip fire again. So if you have a laser and a 2 or 3x scope, it's actually not a bad idea to combine the two, simply because you can use the laser for hip firing at closer than 10 meters and the long range scope for other engagements. Al's really been favoring the bipod in both this game and the previous one that I watched, and I gotta say it's been kind of interesting seeing the number of situations that he uses it in. I think I would have just peeked those stairs since there are enemies nearby, and there's one and he lost that draw. It looks like Delta has been taken by the enemy team, so there's a couple of them up above. This is actually one of my favorite spots to go and clear out Delta from. Held it down and came up with a kill. As I was saying, I like taking over Delta from the top of these machines simply because you have this nice vantage point in which you can see most of Delta from. The other nice thing is you can shoot out the nearby windows in order to see the respawns that are coming from the trains. You can hear a silencer nearby and you're never too sure if that's an enemy or a friendly, so it's always worth a look. Again, Al continues to have good burst fire at long range, so definitely just keep that up for now. So he's got a bipod, but you really can't get a whole lot of use out of that when you're trying to capture a point because you have to have sort of your head on a swivel. Bipods are much better for holding down single lanes of traffic. At this point, it looks like Al's having a pretty good game at 9-3. He's been doing a lot of things right, especially playing the objective. I don't think he saw that enemy on the stairs. Oop, and he almost got shot for it. Although he's laying a nice trap here with the C4. Is he going to get up? No, the enemy was already killed. So C4 is a great way to cover a corner in case you think enemies are going to be coming around it. Again, I like to be a little bit more careful of this corner rather than walking all the way up. You can still get a pretty good view if you just sort of look over that cusp of the edge without having to expose yourself to a bunch of unnecessary fire. Another thing I've noticed is that Al is making great use of his minimap to help him find enemies. Now right there, you might want to work on your target prioritization a little bit. You always want to make sure that you're shooting at the enemy that's most directly facing or shooting at you in that case. Right now I'll be scratching my head and asking myself where all these guys coming from, because you have the point. Are they remnants or are they actually spawning somewhere still? Let's look at the tabletop, and what we got going on here is the map looks pretty even now. Both points have got 3 points, or both teams have 3 points. Snapping back to Al, it looks like he continues to play the objective, which is great. I think I might start to worry about the fact that most of my team is here trying to take this point and not anywhere else. I might start to think about, are they going to start taking F, which it looks like it's flashing right now. And it looks like the enemy team is quite well entrenched on the roof of these buildings. Definitely a bit of an exposed position here. I'd be worrying about what's above me and what's going to be behind me. And that ends up being the end of him. I think I might have been looking in the other direction as opposed to towards my team. Looks like Al is looking for a place to drop his UCAV. I find that most of the gadgets in this game are really difficult to place unless you have a perfectly flat surface. Wise move there, taking cover while the scout chopper was looking at you. Personally, I don't like to spend a lot of time hanging out on these roofs simply because it's wide open and there could at any point be another enemy on a different roof shooting at you. Just like that. Back with Al, let's see what we have going on here. Looks like Blue is pushing on Charlie a little bit. It's always a good idea to try and find the point that's being pushed, spawn on it, and then try to take it back from the enemy before they manage to capture it. He was way too close for ADS at that point, but he did the right thing by switching it up to hip fire. But by that point, the enemy was obviously dead. See that right there? That's how you should peek that every time. Whenever you're peeking, try to expose the minimum amount possible. Right now, it's not looking very good for Blue. They're down by about 100 points and they're not on the burn. Blue team's not really threatening Echo or Foxtrot much, so that's good news. It looks like Al is looking to use this ladder to get a little bit of vengeance on the enemies that killed him earlier. I think one of the strongest urges in this game is to go and find the person that killed you no matter where they're at, even if they're not playing the objective. I think one of the things I would encourage you to do as a player is sort of ignore that tendency to want to get revenge and go and find, the players that are actually causing trouble. And by that, I mean the players who are playing the objective. Al does a good use of the minimap there to find that guy and turn around and kill him. So one thing to maybe work on here is I see that you're peeking the corner, which is great, but at the same time you're making a lot of small movements with your foot that's giving you a reduced accuracy while you're aimed down sight. Especially when you're fired from a safe position like that, be sure to always just sort of plant your feet and take your shot. At this point, if I was playing, I would be not concerned about the roof anymore. I would go find a point and I would take it. Or at the very least, I'll get down there on C and help my team take back C. The job is done up top, time to move on. So right here is a fantastic example of why you don't park your tank too close to a rooftop. The better move there would have been to throw C4 down from the rooftop rather than to land on the tank, because a lot of times when I've sort of sat on top of a tank, I have gotten road killed by it even though I'm not in front of it. Right there, it might have been a better decision to hip fire rather than to go ADS, simply because that guy was so close. Thankfully, though, the enemy wasn't paying attention. Looks like the blue team's finally making some movements on this map. It looks like they're pushing in Delta, and it looks like they're starting to actually push Foxtrot as well. Good job on Al. He's moving his way over to Delta, and it looks like he's going to come up with an enemy here. Again, would have been a great situation to hip fire in. Ooh, and he gets caught going to his UCAV. Just some tough luck there. Al respawned on the closest teammate and seems to be in the middle of a firefight, and does not look out. Alright, trying to hang on to Charlie and Delta. I really prefer the Charlie and Delta points on this map myself. But I know how easily the game can turn if you ignore Echo and Foxtrot and Alpha and Bravo. Pausing the action here to point out that this is a good example of why it screws your teammates when you go for tags. It's not his fault, obviously, he just fell victim to it. If his teammate had just shot that guy, Al would still be capturing that point. It looks like at this point there's a lot of backfield action here on this map. Al's team has come up with Alpha and Bravo. Not a bad move on this map to try and take it. Oh, and just a quick tip here, when you see enemies moving that quickly and that smoothly on the minimap, as Al did, you can tell that they're parachuting, so you want to give it a look up. So at this point, Al has that bipod on his machine gun. I'm not really sure why he's gone and decided to try and ADS this the whole time rather than deploying. I'd be a little bit concerned about ADSing for too long here, simply because you're in the middle of C and D, which are enemy territory, and right there you have a little enemy squad come along and take care of you. This team's doing pretty good. At this point, I'm gonna guess that the rest of the game is pretty much gonna go in the US's favor. Enemy in that case just spotted him hanging up on the roof. I think what I might have done is backed off a little bit rather than trying to go for the shot. This is an interesting landing spot. Wonder if that's on purpose or by accident. Too many coming around the corner, and he's got exposed. Back with Al now. Looks like we got a revive, so that's not so bad. Al's doing a great job of keeping an eye on the minimap here. Definitely not a bad move throwing a grenade. Didn't come up with anything though. Looks like a teammate finished the work. Looks like Al's getting shot at, and a great catch here on the minimap to find who's shooting at him. Time to grab that armor. It's empty. Don't want to let an enemy teammate slip into it. Yep, perfect. Good job, Al. You never want to let empty armor sit around for too long simply because an enemy could jump into it and make the point that much harder to capture. Nice use of splash damage there. I think at this point I'd go and loop around to the other side. See what's over there. See if we can cut him off. There you go. Oop. A little bit of an odd angle. Might have jumped into the gunner secondary position just to get the shot off. Making good use of the minimap though to spot the enemies that are around. Well, let's see what our tabletop situation looks like here. Blue team's still holding on. Hasn't completely given up the game yet, but Red has been in command of 3 points or more for this entire round, so the bleed's either been neutral or with them. I was making great use of this armor to help clean up all these points that Blue has managed to capture in the backfield. If I were on his team, I would probably want to be on the other side of this, just to sort of guarantee that I'll have a good sight on anybody that spawns here. I believe all the spawn points are behind these two buildings, or right on the edges. Good job staying on the burn though. Now that the point's been taken, one of my first thoughts is, what's the next point I can take? At this point, I'd be looking to see on the map what my options are. Looks like Delta's being taken. That's probably where I'd wheel this cart. And Al is doing exactly that, so it seems like my over-the-shoulder commander mode seems to still be working. Easy kills, easy kills. Where's another one? Looks like Al did an early reload there. If you ever have a free moment between kills, tap that R key and go ahead and reload your guns. You never want to be caught with low available ammo when you had a couple of spare seconds to remedy that situation earlier. Looks like there's some enemies on the minimap. Not sure where. It could be up top. Charlie's being taken, so I'm going to guess that they're going to be down below. Especially because your teammate just died down there. Not much you can do in the armor other than keep them from coming around up top. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Al has anybody gun for him here, so it's a little bit exposed to be showing your tailpipe to that underside where you know there's a bunch of guys. You never know when an engineer might pop up and get a quick disable on you. And at this point, I'd be heading outside simply to get out of harm's way because you're really contained inside there, and it looks like Al's done exactly that. Oh my. Merry Christmas. Missed every one of them though. That's one of those situations where having the canister shell or some Zuni rockets might have helped out. Other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot that Al could do other than helplessly watch them run away from his 25mm. Super dangerous and aggressive play here using the UCAV when you have armor and possibly other things looking at you. But he figured out that that wasn't a good idea and got out of the UCAV and got back in his armor. While it's unlikely, it's also a situation where he could have had somebody jump in his tank while he wasn't looking. Not sure what we're waiting on there. You just heard that, so you know somebody's looking at you. There he is. Probably a bit late on the APS. Whatever you do, don't park on top of the mines. Oh. I'm in trouble here. Boom. You can see that tank off in the distance. He probably got his attention there at the end and it took him out. Back with Al. At this point you can see there's a guy in on Delta. Good use of the minimap there to pick him up. Of his teammates on Delta. As you can see, the Charlie's in trouble, and it looks like Foxtrot has also been taken, so you're going to have to start to wonder, is Blue going to mount a comeback? At 300 point deficit? Probably not. But if they wanted to, Blue has to consider how would we possibly pick up this 4th point. And it is Merry Christmas there for Al. Oh, terrible mistake by the enemy team there. Should have been more spread out. That's why it's a bad idea to cluster up on friendlies and why I yell at my teammates whenever it happens. Yeah, you can see that guy on the minimap. Don't know where he is though. Looking for him. He's going to be up top at that point. Yep. Takes fire from him. Yeah, if you ever look in a spot and you don't see an enemy there, chances are that he's not at that elevation that you're looking at. I kind of wish the battlefield had a distinctive marker for when they're above you or below you, but I'll take what I can get. Still up top. I guess we're waiting right now for Al to come back. So we can see the Delta's being taken, and I would be working my way over there, and it looks like Al's doing exactly that. So Al, good on you for playing the objective. There's sort of a laundry list of things that always want to be going on in your head. You always want to be checking the minimap to see if there's enemies nearby. You always want to be taking care of the enemies that are in front of you, and you always want to be looking at what the situation on the map is. There's enough of his teammates here between Charlie and Delta. I think I might start thinking about other points to give or take. There's another example of somebody that's up top. Don't see them here, they gotta be up top. This is not a bad spot to catch any enemies that might be walking around up there because you have a view over Delta and you have a view behind it as well, so you can sort of try to see if anybody's up there. And it looks like a huge transport full of enemies just crash landed here. Now you can either try to get in on them when they're all still confused from the crash, or you can try to wait them out to see if anybody tries to come out. And it looks like we're going with straight up aggression. I really like this aggressive style play with the LMG. It's one of my favorite things to do as support. Since there's nobody above them, I guess the enemy's around this corner, and there's one, and there's another, and it looks like, ooh, Al just got domed. So one bit of advice I can offer when coming around that corner is to just start firing as you're coming around the corner. If you know an enemy is there, there's no reason not to pre-fire. But better than nothing, I guess, when you can have kind of a free hit. Not a bad usage. It's always nice to take a little bit off the top for your friends to destroy that vehicle a little bit later. I saw him get a bunch of helicopter kills in the last round on Dawnbreaker with the UCAV, and I was actually kind of impressed. No, wait, scratch that. Not kind of impressed. I actually was really impressed. So right now he's sneaking around a lot looking for the enemies. He knows they're around, but he can't really detect where. He sees a bunch of dead bodies on the minimap, but no enemies remaining. And there you go. There's a good catch. Al's continuing to show great use of the minimap and situational awareness. Minimap, minimap, minimap. Yep, coming up here on the right. Looks like your teammate took care of him. Ooh, great catch. Did you hear that little buzzing noise? And on the minimap you can see the little thing flying by. That's a UCAV. If you ever hear or see that thing coming, you want to try and dive a little bit out of the way so that the enemy doesn't go after you with it. Made really good use of the bipod also last round. Found a lot of creative places to put it. Taking a little bit of damage every time to turn faces aggressor or get behind cover, and he chose cover in that case. I think that's one of my biggest struggles as a player, is trying to figure out when's a good time to turn and attack my attacker or to simply get out of the way. Not the best choice going ADS here, but he manages to come up with the shot anyway simply because the other guy couldn't aim. But it looks like he had just turned off his laser, so perhaps he had just gotten surprised. It's not a bad idea if you have a laser on your gun to turn it off if you're going to be shooting at long range or if you're going to be running around trying to be sneaky. My Delta point's being taken, and you guys have lost Charlie. Not going to lose the map at this point, but in any other case, it would probably not be a bad idea to pay attention to what the map situation is. If you remember, the last time he was ADS here, he got caught by an entire squad of enemies, and he could have been caught right there. Also, he turned on his laser to get a little bit better hip fire out of his machine gun. Not a bad move at all. Oh, nice magnum shot, especially with 3-4X at that close range. Maybe that was luck, I don't know. I usually like to pick weapons that are complementary to each other, so in his case I would probably pick something that's a little bit better at close range. And Al gets caught reloading. A close range secondary might have helped him in that situation. One of the things that I like to do when I'm reloading is hover my finger over my secondary. That way if I do get surprised like that, I can switch to it quickly. And that sound means this game's almost over. Overall, a very solid game by Al, and he played one of my favorite setups quite well. I'm a big fan of the run and gun LMG, and I have only a few points of advice for Al to improve his game. First, if you're going to be shooting from safety, try to make sure you're keeping your feet planted. You don't want to suffer from the added accuracy penalties of being ADS and on the move. Secondly, be careful not to stay in exposed positions for too long. Once or twice you got caught in the open and killed because of it. Otherwise, Al is a very solid gamer, and it shows in his team's crushing victory. That's it for this episode of Over Your Shoulder. If you liked what you saw, please throw this video a like. If you'd like to see more Battlefield 4 videos, please subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to be featured in an upcoming episode of Over Your Shoulder, please leave a comment below or send me a private message. As always, thanks for watching YouTube, and I'll see you next time.